Hey everyone, welcome to a Read Aloud with Mr. Gibb. Today we will be focusing on story structure, so students will be able to identify the setting, the talking characters, the oops, the problem, the resolution, which is the steps to solve the problem, and finally the solution, the yes, kind of like the party at the end. Alright, so I'm going to put this down, playing in between videos, and I'm going to pick up this right here. This is one of my very favorite Dr. Seuss books, and it's called And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street. I'm not going to use this version right here. What I'm going to do is put this down and actually get the copy that my grandparents got me when I was a young student, sort of like you guys. And you can see it's a little old and a little taped together, but it'll do just fine for our read aloud. So as we read, I want you to think about, where does this story take place? Who are the people? Who are the animals? What buildings and what structures, sort of what do you see in the story? And then kind of what part of nature also then? Are there clouds, trees, that sort of thing in the story? And that all makes up the setting. What's going on basically in the story? Next, I want you to think about the talking characters, if there are any. After that, the author will introduce the oops, or the problem of the story, which makes it a little bit more interesting. After that, we're going to take steps to resolve the problem, try to solve the problem, and then finally we're going to get to the solution at the end. And which, again, a lot of times for Dr. Seuss books, it's going to be yes, kind of like a party, something that's positive or happy at the end. Okay? So let's start. And to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. I'm going to move up just a little bit so you guys can see a little bit easier. To think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. When I leave home to walk to school, Dad always says to me, "Marco, keep your eyelids up and see what you can see." But when I tell him where I've been and what I think I've seen, he looks at me and sternly says, "Your eyesight's much too keen. Stop telling such outlandish tales. Stop turning minnows into whales. Now, what can I say when I get home today?" All along the way to school and all the way back, I've looked and I've looked and I've kept careful track. But all that I've noticed, except my own feet, was a horse and a wagon on Mulberry Street. So far, I can see that we now have a little setting, which is just a simple road. We have some characters, we have an animal, we have a person, right? And then the things that we see some sort of wagon also. And if you want to add some details, you see some little plants in the back of the wagon. Oh, so I want you to think about each page we get to, what has been added, if anything. That's nothing to tell of. That won't do, of course. Just a broken down wagon that's drawn by a horse. That can't be my story. That's only a start. I'll say that a zebra was pulling the cart. And that is a story that no one can beat when I say that I saw it on Mulberry Street. Yes, the zebra is fine, but I think it's a shame. Such a marvelous beast with a cart that's so tame. The story would really be better to hear if the driver I saw were a charioteer, a gold and blue chariots, something to meet, rumbling like thunder down Mulberry Street. Now, it won't do at all. A zebra's too small. A reindeer is better. He's fast and he's fleet. And he'd look mighty smart on old Mulberry Street. Hold on a minute. There's something wrong. A reindeer hates the way it feels to pull a thing that runs on wheels. He'd be much happier instead if he could pull a fancy sled. A reindeer in a sleigh. Say anyone could think of that. Jack or Fred or Joe or Nat. Say even Jane could think of that. But it isn't too late to make one little change. A sleigh and an elephant. There's something strange. I'll pick one with plenty of power and size, a blue one with plenty of fun in his eyes. And then, just to give him a little more tone, have a Rajah with rubies perched high on a throne. Say, that makes a story that no one can beat when I say that I saw it on Mulberry Street. So this is a very interesting setting, and it seems like we keep adding characters along the way. But now I don't know. It still doesn't seem right. An elephant pulling a thing that's so light would whip it around in the air like a kite. But he'd look simply grand with a big brass jazz band. Maybe you can make some connections to when we studied jazz in our classroom. Whoa, look at this. Let me take a second and make sure that you can see this the correct way. Look at all of these characters that we've been adding. A band that's so good should have someone to hear it, but it's going so fast that it's hard to keep near it. I'll put on a trailer, I know they won't mind, if a man sits and listens while hitched on behind. But now is it fair? Is it fair what I've done? I'll bet those wagons weigh more than a ton. That's really too heavy a load for one beast. I'll give him some helpers. He needs two at least. But now what worries me is this. Mulberry Street runs into bliss. There, unless there's something I can fix up, there'll be an awful traffic accident mix-up. Uh-oh. So it looks like these streets cross. Ding, 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 ding. Whoa! Look at all these characters. It takes police to do the trick, to guide them through where traffic's thick. It takes police to do the trick. They'll never crash now. They'll race at top speed with Sergeant Mulvaney himself in the lead. The mayor is there, and he thinks it is grand, and he raises his hat, and they dash by the stand. The mayor is there, and the aldermen too, all waving big banners of red, white, and blue. And that is a story that no one can beat when I say that I saw it on Mulberry Street. With a roar of its motor, an airplane appears and dumps out confetti while everyone cheers. And that makes a story that's really not bad, but it could still be better. Suppose that I add a big magician doing tricks, a 10-foot beard that needs a comb, no time for more, I'm almost home. I swung round the corner and dashed through the gate. I ran up the steps and I felt simply great, for I had a story that no one could beat. And to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. But Dad said quite calmly, just draw up your stool and tell me the sights on the way home from school. There was so much to tell, I just couldn't begin. Dad looked at me sharply and pulled at his chin. He frowned at me sternly from there in his seat. Was there nothing to look at? No people to greet? Did nothing excite you or make your heart beat? Nothing, I said, growing red as a beet, but a plain horse and wagon on Mulberry Street. And that's it for Mulberry Street. This is one of my very favorite books. I think I like that every page has something new. Every page has something that's being added to make it a little bit more exciting. So if you want to think about why Dr. Seuss wrote this book for us, probably to entertain us and to put a smile on our face and make us feel like we really enjoy reading one of his books. So if you want to go back to sort of the setting, think about what that might be, right? So if I'm filling this out, kind of like when we were in class, I would put Mulberry Street, and then if I had more room to write, I would explain my favorite items or my favorite characters that were added to the setting. And that all creates a place where all of the characters and all of the locations are, and that's what makes up the setting of the story. So we have Mulberry Street with all of our characters and our wagons and our airplanes and all of that. The talking characters really is the boy, right? The boy talking with his dad. So if I'm thinking back, I don't hear a lot of talking or speaking from most of the characters that were added, but I do hear from the boy and the dad, so I want you to keep that in mind. We were really just talking about sort of the talking characters, and then if you want to think about the most important characters, these would be both of the most important. They seem to carry the story. They add to the story. They talk at the beginning, but they also talk at the end, and that's what kind of makes it funny at the end. The problem of the story, well, you can kind of come up with your own problem. I might say that the problem of the story is it could be the boy's imagination. That wouldn't really be a problem, but it would be a lot to tell his dad, and dad might not believe him. So I'd say the problem of the story would be a crazy story that the boy comes up with. Crazy story. The steps that he takes to solve the problem, well, this isn't really a traditional story with like a problem that really definitely needs to be solved. But if we think about what's being added each time, the boy is adding to his story. He's adding to his imagination. And his imagination is then sort of adding more and more and more and more to the story. So I'd say more details are added each page. Also, if you came up with your own or a different problem or your own and different steps to solve the problem, that's absolutely fine. That's what Dr. Seuss is trying to entertain us. He's trying to make it so that we really enjoy the story and we come up with different elements of the story on our own. And then finally at the end, we have sort of the party. I'd say one part of the ending would be all of the characters in the setting all together. But then the party at the end, it's not much of a party, but it's sort of him telling his dad, well, actually, this is all I saw, and that's it. So that could be the conversation with the dad at the end. You might think that the solution was when all of the characters were together in that parade. It's up to you, whatever makes the most sense, and whatever really helps you comprehend and understand the story. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the story. Feel free to try to identify with an adult, the STORY, in your own books that you choose, maybe on Raz Kids or Epic or from your home library. So hope everybody enjoyed it. Have a great, amazing day, and I'll see you later.